You know that feeling, right? Every creator does. You spend hours, maybe even days, shooting and editing what you think is the perfect video. You post it, you see the views start to trickle in, and then you look at the retention graph. Oof, there it is, that huge, steep drop-off in the first 30 seconds. It is one of the most frustrating things about being a creator. But what if the reason for it has nothing to do with your editing at all? What if the real problem starts way before you even think about hitting that record button? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that the secret to keeping your audience watching isn't found in some fancy software or quick cuts, but right here, on the page, in the script itself. And believe me, the stakes could not be higher. An analysis from Tube Toolkit found that videos with high retention rates get a staggering 3 times more recommendations from the YouTube algorithm. 3 times! That is literally the difference between a video that just fizzles out and one that goes on to find a massive audience. So, how do we get there?
Okay, let's really unpack this, because this quote from Nasdam.com gets right to the heart of everything. See, we're all kind of trained to think that post-production is where the magic happens. You know, the editing, the sound design, the effects. But what if the real foundation for a video that people actually want to watch is a strong, compelling script? Good retention always starts with the story, the flow, the logic, the emotional journey you take your viewer on. It all begins with the words you write down. So get this, what if I told you that the entire secret to a powerful story structure could be boiled down to just 3 very simple words? And here they are: and, but, therefore. It's a framework called ABT, and its genius is really in its simplicity. It's this foundational template that gives us context, then it introduces a problem or a conflict, and then it delivers a resolution. You know, some people have even called this the very DNA of story itself. So, let's break this down. The and is what sets the stage. It's your setup, the context, the status quo. This happened, and this happened. Simple enough. Then comes the but. This is the pivot. It's the conflict, the tension, the thing that hooks the audience and makes them lean in. But then something unexpected happened. And finally, you have therefore. This is the resolution, the solution, the ultimate takeaway from the whole story. Therefore, this is what happened as a result. And here's where it gets really, really cool. This isn't some new YouTube trick. The ABT framework is the exact same 3-act structure that has powered storytelling for centuries. I mean, from ancient plays all the way to Hollywood blockbusters. Your and is Act 1, the setup. Your but is Act 2, the confrontation. And your therefore is Act 3, the resolution. It's a timeless structure for one simple reason. It's literally how our brains are wired to understand a narrative.
Okay, so you've got your core structure. You know the beginning, the middle, and the end. But what's the actual psychological engine that pulls a viewer from one moment to the next? How do you create that feeling where they just have to know what happens next?
Well, the answer is a super powerful technique called open loops. An open loop is just an unresolved idea or a question. It creates what psychologists call a curiosity gap. See, our brains are hardwired to want closure. So when you open a loop by asking a question or hinting at something, you create this little bit of psychological tension that makes the viewer need to stick around for the answer. Just feel the difference here. The first statement is what we'd call a closed loop. It's a fact. It's informative, sure, but not very gripping, is it? Now, the second one is an open loop. It's a whole series of questions that just spark your curiosity. It doesn't just present information, it invites you on a journey to find the answers. That's what keeps people watching. All right, so we've got our structure, the ABT framework, and we've got our engine, open loops to keep people engaged. Now it's time for the final, critical step, the polish. We're going to run our script through 3 final clarity checks, inspired by the scriptwriter George Blackman, to make sure it's as sharp and effective as it can possibly be. First things first, cut the jargon. Especially in your hook, you want to create curiosity, not confusion. Using overly academic or complicated language can make your audience feel like they're missing something. And trust me, that's a quick way to get them to click away to something else.
Take a look at this example. A sort of moral irony. What does that even mean in the first 5 seconds of a video? It's so vague and jargon-heavy that it doesn't open a curiosity gap, it just creates this fog of confusion. You have to be direct. Be clear.
Second, we need to cut the surplus detail. All those unnecessary words and clunky phrases can absolutely kill the rhythm of your script. Here's a pro tip. Read your entire script out loud. Seriously, try it. You will immediately hear where the phrasing feels unnatural or just way too complicated. Just listen to this sentence, as comedian Steve Martin once advised in an interview. Now listen to how much cleaner it is without that part, As comedian Steve Martin said, right? Unless the fact that it was in an interview is absolutely critical to the story, it's just dead weight. Cut it.
And this third check, this might be the most crucial one of all. Cut out conceptual confusion. Put simply, your hook must accurately promise what the video actually delivers. If you create a mismatch between what your audience expects and what they actually get, you break their trust. And once that trust is broken, they're gone.
This is a perfect example. A hook that promises a quest to meet someone sets up the expectation of an adventure, maybe a documentary-style video. But when the video turns out to be just a simple talking head listicle, viewers feel like they've been misled. That lack of clarity is absolutely deadly for early retention.
You know, all three of these checks really boil down to this one powerful piece of advice. Aim to be clear, not clever. In scripting, your #1 goal isn't to sound poetic or brilliant, it's just to be understood. Because clarity, that is the foundation upon which all great videos are built. So, there you have it. The structure of and, but, therefore, the engine of open loops, and the polish of radical clarity. You now have the fundamental tools that storytellers have been using for generations to completely captivate audiences. The only question left is, what story are you going to tell?